So this is the new Tesla Model 3. Well, it's actually been around for about a year. And in this video, we're gonna be talking about some of the quirks, some of the things I've noticed from driving this almost 900 kilometers in a week, as well as some of the changes from its predecessor. This is the DoneDeal YouTube channel. I'm David OC. Now let's get into it. There's tons of reviews out there that discuss boot space, space in the rear. So we're gonna do our best to keep this somewhat interesting and a little bit different. So we're going to ignore the fact that prices start at about 38,000 euros, including a grant. And we're also going to ignore the fact that there is two battery sizes, 57 and 75 kilowatt hours. And instead, we're going to go and talk about some of the things I've actually noticed whilst driving this for over a week and doing a lot of mileage. So I'm going to do them in order of what I've noticed. And the first is when you get into the car, there is an app. Otherwise, you actually need to scan this key card here, and then you can put it into gear. Then it comes to putting into gear. It's quite strange. You have to slide this forward. There's no physical gear shifter, which is quite odd. There is also a backup up here should you need it, but you find yourself just using it here. And then there is the weirdest one of all. There's no stalks here for your wipers, and there's not even a stalk for your indicator. You've probably seen this before, and you've probably heard people say, you get used to it. Trust me, you do not. You get used to it when you're driving on the motorway and you go to change lane and you have time to think about it. But when you quickly need to move lane, you find yourself searching and almost yearning for an indicator. The buttons, they're cool, but in my opinion, they're a little bit of a gimmick and you just can't beat a stock. Now, once you actually get out on the road, it is phenomenally quiet. It's actually quite a peaceful place to sit. Obviously, it depends which version you go in terms of power output. This is actually a fairly standard one, and the power is actually plentiful. To be honest, you don't need any more power than this, and I'm quite astonished at the traction control system. It does not brake grip. This week's actually been kind of in the minuses a few times, and on some damp roads, and it's just glued to the road. Now, what have I actually noticed during my time with the car? Well, one of the first things was I was demisting the front windscreen, and then I got a phone call. And what the Tesla did was it actually lowered the blower so that I could hear the call better. A really nice and elegant touch. The second thing is that beeping. So right now I'm breaking the speed limit ever so slightly. Now that is a regulatory thing here in Europe, and it's an absolute nightmare. And in every single car, you either have to create a shortcut or go through the infotainment system. And it is quite literally the most frustrating thing in the world. But Tesla, I commend you because it's off. You just hit the screen and that is the end of that beep. You do have to do it every time you get in the car, but the fact that it's so easy actually just makes it very painless. Now there is a couple things that aren't amazing. One of the big ones being that there's no Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. And I know Tesla's system, it's really good, and you do find yourself using the maps so you can make your route using the fast charger network, but the reality is you just can't beat Apple CarPlay, and I wish I had it. One thing I've observed this week is that I pretty much haven't touched the brake pedal. I think I've actually genuinely touched it probably 4 or 5 times in 1,000 kilometers. The reason being is the regenerative braking is phenomenally aggressive in this. At first, it almost catches you out and you find yourself taking your foot off the accelerator and being pushed forward. But after a while, now we're going from about 60 kilometers per hour to 0 in just a few seconds. And that's all done, essentially making the car more efficient, which is absolutely fabulous. So anyway, as a whole, to drive on Irish roads, I actually have to say the Model 3 is brilliant. I'm not a fan of the indicators. In fact, if I bought one, I'd genuinely look into maybe trying to get some retrofitted. Other than that though, I really think it's a phenomenal car, and I do get the hype. I know some people either love them or hate them, but I understand why people love them and swear by them and go back to buy a second and a third one, because they are really good. The infrastructure is phenomenal and they're brilliant as a whole. And what's more is actually parking at night, the way it comes up on the screen here with other cars, it actually just makes life so much easier. And on these wintry days, it comes in very handy. So what are the changes compared to the old Model 3? Well, there's kind of three main differences. The first is the suspension has had a complete overhaul and it makes for a much smoother drive. The second, again, comes down to that driving experience. They've put rear acoustic glass in there, which means it's really silent. And a lot of EVs tend to have quite a lot of road noise, but that combined with some new, more modern tyres mean that it is really quiet. And then the third big difference is actually at the front. To the naked eye, this is probably what you'll notice most, and it is the new headlights and the front design as a whole. They're a lot slicker, they look a lot better in my opinion, but the best thing about them is they have incredible ability driving at night on some backcountry roads. You don't have to switch on and off your headlights, they'll actually work where they'll kind of remove the light from that oncoming traffic and brighten up the other side of the road. It's absolutely superb. I can't actually leave them on for display purposes right now. I've tried, but the keys in the car, you put them on, it just won't work. But what I can do is this. You ready? Yeah. That has to be the most Elon Musk thing I've ever witnessed. But anyway, as a whole, it has been a brilliant car to live with. And actually, one of the big advantages driving an EV is on a week like this, where it's freezing cold, you can preheat the car. The supercharging network has been phenomenal this week. I've been up and down to Cork. I've actually used it extensively and it's just been so reliable, so easy to use and quite quick, particularly if you program it in on your journey, then it will precondition the battery. So as a whole, I have to say it's brilliant. When I collected, I was told that a huge amount of Tesla sales at the moment are actually from people who've bought other EVs and are actually transitioning into a Tesla. The majority of the reason for that is because of the infrastructure again. Anyway, if you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to comment below. And that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching and we'll see you in the next one.